Chapter 1: Introduction to Class Diagrams. Ever found yourself pondering how to create a visual representation of your code structure?
Well, that's where class diagrams come into play.
A class diagram is essentially the blueprint of your software when you're working in an object-oriented programming environment. It's the visual tool that tells you how various classes, the blueprints for your objects, are intertwined and related to each other within a system. Imagine it as the genealogy chart of your code. Chapter 2: Components of a Class Diagram.
Now, what makes up a class diagram?
It's primarily composed of two key components: classes and relationships.
A class is what lays down the foundation for creating objects. Every class has attributes and operations. Attributes are properties or data, like name or age.
Operations, on the other hand, are methods or functions that a class can perform,
such as calculate or display.
Chapter 3: Relationships in Class Diagrams. Moving on to relationships, they depict how classes interact with each other.
There are two types of relationships: association and inheritance. Association is the connection between classes. For instance, a student attending a school is an association.
Inheritance is when one class inherits attributes and operations from another class.
A car class inheriting from a vehicle class is an example of this.
Chapter 4: Example of a Class Diagram.
To better illustrate, let's conjure up an example of a library management system. We would have three classes: book, user, and library.
The book class would have attributes like title and author, and operations such as checkout and return. The user class would have attributes like name and ID, and operations like borrow and renew. The library class would have attributes like name and location, and operations like add book and search. Chapter 5: Relationships in the example.
Now, let's look at the relationships.
An association would be users borrowing books. An inheritance relationship would be both book and user classes inheriting from a library item class that has common properties. Chapter 6: Purposes of using class diagrams. So, why should we use class diagrams?
They serve three main purposes.
First, they act as a communication tool, helping developers, designers, and stakeholders understand the structure of the system. Second, they assist in design, enabling you to plan how classes will interact and how to organize your code. Finally, they aid in code generation, helping you create actual code from the diagram.
Chapter 7: Conclusion. So, there you have it.
Class diagrams are like the family trees of your code family. They help you see the big picture, understand the relationships, and plan your coding journey. Spend some time with them, and you'll find they make your coding life a whole lot easier.